this is Kimberlea, and Yoga Snack is our bite-sized podcast where Robbie and I serve up nourishing discussions on yoga, astrology, nourishment, and mindset.
We mix wisdom with personal experiences to serve up quick, insightful conversations that nourish your practice and add flavor to your daily life.
Ready for a quick bite of wisdom? Let's dig in. Welcome to the next episode of Yoga Snack. I want to talk about food, Robbie.
Okay, great. I'm all in for food.
Okay. I want to talk about chocolate chips right now.
Okay. I think I'm in for that.
All right. Well, and maybe by the end of it too, you'll share your chocolate chip recipe with us.
I have a great chocolate chip recipe I can share with you.
Okay, stay tuned, you guys. All right. I want to talk about chocolate chips today because I had this vision one day, and actually an experience. I keep chocolate chips in the freezer, and if I don't use them right away, they end up becoming a snack. And so I'll go in and I'll grab a few chocolate chips here and there, here and there, here and there, and then all of a sudden I wanted to make chocolate chip cookies, and I went to get chocolate chips out, and there weren't enough to make the cookies, and that was really sad. And I had a thought that this is really an energy consumption moment. Where does your energy go? Here I am just dabbling, and every now and again I'm grabbing something to satisfy myself, little bit. But the real satisfying thing that those chocolate chips were actually for, I didn't get to do because I leaked, my chocolate chips got leaked. So, I think of this as where we put our energy throughout our day, our life, our week, our year around relationships. I think there's a lot of times where we're just spilling our energy. It's like taking chocolate chips from the bag. And when we actually then need to give our attention to a relationship or a project or something, we feel depleted because we've kind of been stealing from the bag the whole time instead of, really concentrating that effort into the project that it was meant for, or the relationship or things like that. And I think as I've aged and, I've just gotten more clarity on who I am, I relate that to friendships. I can't sustain superficial relationships, and for a long, long time, I was taking from the chocolate chip bag, it's you're exhausted because and then the people that you do actually want to spend time with, you don't have the energy for it.
Right.
So I think that is our topic today, is looking at how do we direct our energy in a meaningful way. And we're going to relate it to food, and baking, and warm chocolate chip cookies are in your near future if you wait to the end for Robbie's recipe.
Definitely, as a baker, I can relate to stealing too many chocolate chips before the time was right. And it's a very oh no, what have I done moment. And I think that is a great analogy for some of these energy vampire relationships that are out there that we can kind of get lost in.
Yeah.
They're just it's sucking the life force out of you instead of feeding you and propelling you to go forward. It's sort of robbing that.
Yeah. And it's seductive, right? Sometimes the drama is seductive, or the need, the quantity, I need to have lots of distractions, or lots of people in my life. And I think that depth of relationship, and I think you can have lots of friends, right? And have very deep friendships and relationships. But when you start to, I think when you start on that self-awareness journey, you shift in a way that what used to be what you tolerated before, or engaged in before, is almost unsustainable, because you feel the energy leaving you now.
Right.
I've had a lot of clients, over the years, it's like they end up in this new place and they're getting healthier and they're more clear and they're paying closer attention in their lives. And they've really woken up to some of their deep truths. And once we do that, though, we can't always bring everything and everyone with us in that new place that we've become. And that's it's sort of sad and scary. People are like, oh, you've changed. I'm like, of course I have changed. I hope we're all changing,
Right.
And it's like, I love cookie dough, but man, I love warm chocolate chip cookies. Like even if you got all the chocolate chips into the dough, and then you end up eating the dough, you probably end up with a tummy ache.
Yeah.
But but if you if you take that next step and you turn them into something new, right, that they become more palatable and safer for you to eat because they don't have raw egg in them, but I still eat it. So you guys do what you want. Still eat your raw cookie dough. There's no judgment, but it is there is a transformation that occurs, and I think yoga is a self-awareness journey and a self-awareness technology. And when we transform ourselves, that means we can't go back to who we were before. Like change and transformation are different. Change is like you can change and you can change back. I can change my clothes and then I can change back into what I was wearing. But transformation is when you can't go back to where you were before. And when you hit that transformation space, then from that point on, you have to be addressed in that space that you're maintaining and what you're living in, and not everything can come along with you. And there's some sadness in that, the transformation. It's like the baked chocolate chip cookies can no longer be cookie dough, like they're forever and henceforth chocolate chip cookies.
Right.
They can no longer, have those qualities of the cookie dough. And even getting to the cookie dough, right? Like we can just rob ourselves and we can't even start the journey because we just keep feeding ourselves these sort of like superficial, surface level engagements. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of grief that goes along because when we shift, I guess we assume everybody's going to shift along with us.
Right.
And that's not true. That's not true. I've had, yeah. Have you had things that have fallen away? Because you made a big transition from Ohio to...
Yeah. Let's see. It's definitely I've had plenty of things fall away, and then sometimes they come back for a little while, and you feel like, I don't know, this image of like having one foot in two worlds is sort of like what is always in my mind when some of that old patterning starts to come up. And as far as like personal relationships, I think even with my family, I feel like it's just like a frequency change where you get next to somebody and your frequencies could mesh, and it just feels like there's like bumping against each other is sort of
there's no resonance.
Right, exactly. It's just sort of bouncing apart, and that's tough, and that's something that that recently with a close family member, it's been sort of apparent that like, ooh, I don't think that we mesh anymore.
Yeah.
And I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And the falling away, I don't think is always talked about, as much, because as you shift, things have to, you really are inhabiting a different world, because you're entering it as a different frequency. And that, like we talked about, like resonance matters. And when you're vibrating at a different level, because everything in the universe is vibrating. Our thoughts have a vibration, our bodies have a vibration, rocks are vibrating, like everything is vibrating. And when we change resonance, or when we change frequency and vibration, not everything resonates with us anymore. And it doesn't necessarily mean things are bad or wrong, even. It's just no longer, there's no resonance and there's no coherence. And there's a falling away and a letting go that has to occur. And, and sometimes that falling away and letting go, things can circle back around and reemerge, like in a really new, beautiful way. But a lot of times, it's like the things or the people or even careers that we thought we were going to be in forever, or this was our identity, when we shift and we realize, you're like, wow, that was actually, like you said, energy vampire. That was like sucking my energy. Mm-hmm. It wasn't truly feeding me. It's really hard to choose that. And that's what I think too, that I've realized over the years is like, I'm choosing a lot of things every single day. And when we're in that place of unconsciousness, it's like we don't realize we're actually choosing stuff.
Yeah.
We're just like, I'm in some of that victimized mentality. And, now we can't choose everything. Like there's circumstances we have no control over. I'm not saying that at all. But I mean, there are lots of times in my life when I had these like massive realizations, like you're choosing this, you're choosing to stay here and do this. And one of them was when I worked at a dance studio, and I was there for 13 years, and I couldn't understand it, but like, I loved what I did. I loved teaching the kids. I was really good at what I did. And it was a source of joy, but every time I would walk in the door, I just got angry. Like I just got mad, not like at the kids, but at the situation and the environment and the culture of the studio. And I finally one day I was like, why am I so angry? And I'm like, God, why? And just kind of looking and I started to unpack it, and I'm like, oh. And then I said to myself, I'm like, you're choosing this though. You're choosing to walk into this space every single day, knowing in the back of your head that you are misaligned with the leadership in this place. You're choosing that, Kim. And that's hard to,
Right.
That's hard to like face sometimes. Easier to just keep stealing the chips out of the bag, right?
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm just going to go eat some chocolate and
until
ignore the project that actually needs my energy, which is to step away from this and, either change gears or put my energy into something new, and that's happened many times with big long-term relationships that I've had in many different areas of my life, where it's like you think something's going to be a part of you forever.
Yeah.
And then you get to a new place, and whether it's, you just start to question things, or you wake up, or you start with spiritual practices, or, you go to therapy, or you have a psychedelic journey, or, I think there's lots of ways that we kind of like wake up. But mine was just a matter of like questioning these deep seated emotions that kept coming up that made no sense to me because I loved what I did.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning where I'm like, I am choosing this. I am choosing this. Wow, I am choosing this. What?
Yeah.
And why am I choosing it? And it's, we talked a while back about signs, like I am loyal. I'm a Leo. Man, I'm loyal. And is that a great trait? It is, until you stay too long and you cling.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've seen is like, when I put that question into things, I require myself to be as honest as possible now. When I ask that question, you're choosing this. Why are you choosing it? Don't you want chocolate chip cookies? Or do you just want a few chocolate chips, every other day? And I want the chocolate chip cookies. Yeah. I want the big chocolate. Are they chocolate chunk, Robbie?
Chocolate chunk.
Okay.
Double chocolate chunk.
You guys. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, So I guess maybe today for the listeners, what we'll ask is like, what are you choosing? What are you choosing? And it can be beautiful, wonderful things too, right? I can choose the fact to stay into something, knowing that I'm choosing that. But say I stayed at that studio, and I needed to come to terms with it. Like, you're choosing to stay in a place you're misaligned because you love what you're doing and it's sustainable, right? But that misalignment, I was just like, no, actually, I can't stay. And once you call yourself out, I think you have a harder time staying misaligned with things, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah. When I dove into the psychedelic world, it was from that moment on, it was like I couldn't not notice the energetic misalignments. It was I was an electrician for like 10 years, and after that moment, it was like when I walk into the building, it was the same thing as what you described. It was like you could just feel like all the excitement for the day, the joy, it just like start to be squeezed out almost. And eventually it was, you have to notice that. And I think by the end, it was a lot of the stuff that was annoying to me was more just my like fed up with not doing something about getting myself out of that situation. So, I think I can remember the night that psychedelics came into my life, even just like it was a New Year's Eve, and hours into the experience, we were like, should we do our normal New Year's Eve thing? Like, should we turn on the ball drop?
Yeah.
And it was like in that moment, turning on the hosts of that show, it was like you could almost see the energetic split. And it was, I remember like looking at my partner and being like, I made the noise like wah wah, like this isn't the same as it used to be.
The superficial then is exposed, and the depth is being revealed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like a veil, that we have in front of us. Yoga talks about this. The veils are called malas, not like the mala bracelets that you wear, but the malas, and they're just. It's like just a circumstance of being human. We have these veils that we have in front of ourselves that we have to look, that we're seeing life through. And when those veils are lifted, it's like we get a massive dose of truth. You can't unsee what you've seen. I mean, you can try to. And that, I think, a lot of times we can go back into those same patterns, and we can numb ourselves, and we can, put our head down or go through the motions. But I think deep inside, like our souls want to really experience depth through this human experience too. And that comes in lots of different forms. It comes in a lot of different ways. But I don't know, what is it? The Matrix, the pills. It's like once you take, you can't go back. And I think once you start to become more self-aware, or you start to wake up, or you just start to pay closer attention in your life, and you want to get to the sort of the root of this underlying suffering that all of us are experiencing at some level, if you really want to look at it, right, you realize how much of it you're actually choosing yourself. And it's so scary, right? To choose other things. It's the devil is better than the devil you don't know, right? Right. And so a lot of people, just choose that devil and stick inside of that. And so I think the self-awareness journey is such a brave, courageous act. And we pulse in and out. And I think there's parts where we think like we're finally there. And it's like there's just it's just such an interesting journey, right? We're always sort of peeling back layers, or we're always putting more layers on. Right. And so Rumi says, the poet Rumi says something about love isn't about like, bringing things in. It's like taking all the layers off that you've built around your heart in order to experience love. Clearly he said it way better than I did, but that's the point. It's like these it's like we put these things over ourselves that just continuously make it harder and harder to see. Or we start to take these layers off and it makes it easier to see. Doesn't mean it's easier to choose though. Like we realize like, oh, you mean I am creating my own suffering? You mean I ate all the chocolate chips out of the bag? Who did that?
Right.
You know, I'd be like blaming my kids, and I don't have any kids at home anymore. Or I have one, or she's like at her dad. She's like, I need those chocolate chips, Mom. You know, so yeah, it's like once you realize, you're like, oh, I'm the one
I did this.
doing this. I guess I have to choose differently, or, you know.
I'm the reason my cookies went from chocolate chip to sugar cookies.
Right. Yeah. Well, listeners, what are you choosing? What are you choosing? I would love to hear you shout out and give us just some insight into where you are on this journey. And Robbie is going to share his chocolate chip recipe. I wish we had a drum roll.
Yeah, I know. I think...
do you have the ingredients?
I do, yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll give you the ingredients. And if you comment, what do you want them to comment? Like recipe or chocolate chip?
Yeah. Comment chocolate chip cookies, or send us a DM on Instagram, or on YouTube if you watch on YouTube, maybe.
Just cookie. How about cookie? Just comment cookie, and we will send you. We'll get you the recipe for his chocolate chip double. What's the
chocolate chunk cookies? Well, that's what we'll call them. Yeah.
Chocolate chunk cookies.
Yeah.
So get your pen and paper ready.
Okay.
Here's the ingredients.
Okay, so it's a combination of dark chocolate and milk chocolate. Should I do like the like how many grams, or
why not?
Okay, so like not like this is baking, so it is very specific. 255 grams of dark chocolate, 70 grams of milk chocolate, 150 grams of sugar. Also 165 grams of brown sugar, 160 grams of bread flour. So that's like a 12.7% protein, like a higher percentage protein flour is what I mean by bread flour. 150 grams of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, and we're at elevation in Colorado, so you might need to tweak that a little bit no matter where you're listening from. Half a teaspoon of salt, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 225 grams of butter. So we're really bringing the flavor with these things.
Yes.
So yeah.
Amazing.
If you want the full thing, reach out and we can certainly give that to you. But
So comment cookie if you want the actual breakdown of the directions, and we can send you the recipe as well. But you heard it, you can write it down.
Yeah,
figure it out yourself.
That's all the goodness that goes in to a great chocolate chip cookie. And I think you just got to mix it all up and see how it turns out. unless you reach out.
That's right.
We'll help out.
That's right. You can choose to comment.
Yes.
Or you can choose to ignore it. But if you choose the comment cookie, right, you get some assistance on this journey. Or you can do it yourself.
Yeah. It's always an adventure.
Yeah, it's always an adventure. Choose your own adventure. You can have a partner in crime, or you can go at it alone. All of it is valid and a great way to be human. So that's all we've got for you this week, listeners. And we just appreciate you so much. And we hope you keep tuning in, sharing the love. And remember, comment cookie if you want the receipt. If you want the recipe. And we will catch you next time on Yoga Snack.
Have a good week.